Act 4, Scene 3 continued. Here, in this particular bit, we get a sense of Macduff's righteous anger. Okay, he says, fit to govern, not fit to live. And he says, oh nation miserable. All right, he goes on, and he talks about how he loved King Duncan and how saintly he was and all of those things. Okay, and it's banished me from Scotland. Well, where should I go? And here, what Malcolm finds out is that Macduff's loyalty lives for Scotland, not for a king, okay, but for Scotland. And the kingship should live for the country and not the other way around. So he understands now that Macduff is a man of integrity and a man that he can trust to fight alongside when they come to take Macbeth. All right. And then just as he is, thy hope ends here. Okay, and he makes that declaration and Malcolm speaks up. Macduff, this noble passion, child of integrity, hath from my soul wiped the black scruples. Reconcile my thoughts to thy good truth and honor. And here he says, well, you've just made me come to my senses. I'm actually not like that. Kind of joking. All right. Devilish Macbeth by many of these trains has sought to win me into his power, and modest wisdom plucks me from over credulous haste. Now here is a very interesting statement. Devilish Macbeth by many of these trains has sought to win me. And what he's saying is Macbeth has already tried to bribe Malcolm to come home for money, to come home to satiate whatever sexual appetites he has, to kind of, and again, live a very intemperate life. Macbeth has tried to bribe him already, and he has not fallen. Okay. But God above deal with thee. Okay. Between thee and me. For even now I put myself to thy direction. And here we've got this idea. I put myself to thy direction. Okay, and here we have the smart king knows his counselor, okay, because he is going to be a smart king. He understands his limits. All right, and Macduff has now been exalted to an advisor to the king. In thy direction, you will guide me. Okay. And unspeak mine own detraction, or abjure the taints and blames I laid upon myself for strangers to my nature. And here he says, I'm not like that at all. In my nature, I'm not. I'm not a sinful person. And then he says, one of the most honest things you could say as a young man, I am yet unknown to woman. And what that means is he's a virgin. He is a virgin. Now, obviously he's probably a man. He's probably a young man, maybe in his 18, 19, 20, something like that. I'm not sure. But here, it's not the fact that he's a virgin, it's the fact he is honest about it. All right, I am unknown to woman. Never was forsworn, scarcely have coveted what was mine own, at no time broke my faith, would not betray the devil to his fellow, and delight no less in truth than life. My first false speaking was upon myself. My first lie was about me, when I lied to you about who the kind of person I was. What I am truly is thine and my poor country's to command. And here he puts his trust in Macduff. And we know that Macduff is the man who will lead his armies. Whether indeed before they hear approach, old Seaward with 10,000 warlike men already at a point, okay, which means the army are already raised. They didn't have standing armies back in those days. So when you needed an army, you kind of had people that were trained and they just had ordinary jobs. And so they would have been gathered and they are now already ready and assembled and ready to go and fight. Okay. Ready at a point was setting forth. Now will together and chance of goodness be like our warranted quarrel. Why are you silent? And he's almost dumbfounded. Such welcome and unwelcome things at once, 'tis hard to reconcile. And so he's kind of like, right, well, it's great that, you know, I wasn't quite expecting to go to war immediately, but, and so we get this idea. He speaks exactly, but welcome and unwelcome is again our use of equivocation, okay? That idea of the sort of the paradox. Enter a doctor. Well, more none. Comes the king forth, I pray you? Aye, sir. There are a crew of wretched souls that stay his cure. Their malady convinces the greatest say of art. But at his touch, such sanctity hath heaven given his hand, they presently amend. Now here, okay, in this line, the doctor himself, okay, he attests to the healing power of the king. And what he's saying is that a crew of wretched souls that stay his cure. There are people who need his cure, his healing. He puts hands on them. Their malady, their sickness, convinces the greatest say of art. But at his touch, such sanctity hath heaven given his hand, they presently amend. They are healed by his hand. This is a man blessed by God. But not only that, he heals the poor and the sick. This is a man who lives in humility, all right? Who, and again, serves the people of his nation. And here we get, again, a hint of Duncan would have been similar. And again, the kind of, how we say, the opposite of Macbeth. Instead of healing, he curses. And in a way that sort of reverse Midas touch, you know. Oh, thank you, doctor. What's the disease he means? Again, good old Macbeth or Macduff straight to it. Just called the evil. Here it is. A most miraculous work in this good king, which often since my here remain in England, I have seen him do. So again, I get an eyewitness to this person who heals people. How he solicits heaven himself best knows. But strangely visited people, all swollen and ulcerous, pitiful to the eye. The mere despair of surgery he cures. Hanging a golden stamp about their neck, put on with holy prayers, and to spoken to the succeeding royalty, he leaves this healing benediction. With this strange virtue he hath a heavenly gift of prophecy, and sundry blessings hang about his throne that speak him full of grace. Here we have the noble, honest king. And there we get the true, in a sense of kingship. Here we get. Sorry, I'm just going to pause there.